This podcast contains explicit language.
Fuck me. Take two. Hopefully we'll cut this out in editing. Too Bad Guys Talk Games episode 21! Too Fat Guys Talk Games.
Moron. This is Dave.
Carlos here. Too Fat Guys Talk Games episode 21.
21 already.
Episode 21. We've
Editor's note, actually, this is episode 22. Oops.
been doing this. It's been a long time since you came to me and begged me to do a gaming podcast about gaming. And I'm like, fine, I guess.
I seem to remember that a little bit differently. It was more of a, hey, Dave, you want to do a podcast? And I was like, oh, I don't really want to. Dave, you want to do the podcast? Let's do the podcast. Dave, let's do the podcast. Just to shut you the fuck up, I said yes.
You're kind of acting like I'm tenacious when I want something. When in reality, the first time someone says no, I listen.
No, you don't.
Yeah, you're right. Are you going to play Batman on NES anytime soon?
No.
Because it's a good game that you should play.
I'm not playing an old, out-of-touch game right now, thank you.
It's not out of touch. It has excellent jump mechanics. What have you been playing that's not out of touch that has excellent jump mechanics?
Guild Wars 2.
Yeah, me too. It's a fun
Guild
game.
Wars 2, I've been playing Borderlands 2, playing a awesome game on the iPhone called Plague Incorporated, 99 cents, and lost 3.5 hours of my life last night after I got it. So, I say lost, but it was freaking awesome in how the game plays. So, yeah, definitely a call it to that. Play it.
From what I understand, in that game, you're a virus or a disease, and you get to kill humanity.
Basically, your whole point is to upgrade your virus in certain ways to infect the planet and eventually wipe it out. It was a game that, as far as I understand, was made by, I think it was the WHO, as a simulation in how viruses could circulate around the world.
The WHO, very respected organization that backs up acupuncture and other nonsense in the name of health. So I can totally see them making an iPhone game.
Ow.
Is that all you've been playing?
That's pretty much it. Don't have too much time to be doing a lot more between that, writing, and other stuff happening with other people. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Watching a bunch of older style anime, cartoons, and TV series to watch some stuff I haven't watched before. And yeah, that's about it. How about you?
Well, I have been playing Guild Wars 2 as well. Fun MMO with fun mechanics, thoughtful game, fun in groups and alone. So far, so good there. I've been playing old NES titles. Bucky O'Hare on the NES has been my latest kind of fetish, because it is an awesome Mega Man-esque game that is very challenging, but fair.
Played it, finished it. Yeah, I remember this.
Bucky O'Hare is a great game. A lot of good NES games that still stand up today, that I feel. So I've been indulging in my NES cravings, let's say. So I've been playing quite a bit of Guild Wars 2, NES titles. I've started going to fighting game gatherings in our area, so I've been practicing Persona 4 Arena and playing against other people. A small but skilled scene we have here locally, and I've been practicing that. Hopefully I will get to attend Canada Cup in Calgary in late October. We will see if I have time and money to go drive down there and participate in that Persona 4 Arena tournament. But I'm getting in touch with the fighting game community more often, instead of just talking the talk, walking the walk. Speaking of walking the walk, there's a game that we've been seeing a lot of and hating, but we didn't play.
Oh.
And then we played it. So, I have a question for you about Slender.
Oh, God.
What did you think of it before you played it? What did you think you were going to think of it after you played it? And what did you think of it after you played it?
Well, from all the hype and all the videos, like Two Best Friends and everything else doing their different videos on it, I thought the hype of how scary it was just retarded. I mean, I could see some of the mechanics that were going on there. I could see sort of how the game was put together. And quite frankly, I wasn't impressed. I mean, it reminded me of the hype around the Blair Witch Project. So scary that you could pass out, or so scary that you, and everything else, that you'll just be so afraid. It's like, fuck off. Really? Piss off.
What about that minimalistic design?
I don't mind that at all. The minimalistic design works for a game like that. I have now played it, just like you, and retarded. I mean, the mechanic of having the flashlight point down at the ground when you're running, because people do that. Again, I can understand doing mechanics, but this is a forced, lame thing, though, on the other hand, if the dude was right in front of you, it would mean you wouldn't get zapped right quick. I did do some tests while I was playing the game. Grabbed that first frickin' note, and then waited. And I wanted to see how far away he could actually get you if you were looking at him. And I stared at him from about just as he comes on the screen in the forest. And I found out that if you actually put the flashlight on for a long time, before he gets anywhere near you, you still lose. So the mechanic there, I started to understand a little bit. It doesn't mean the game's any better. In fact, I'm just going to come out and say that it's shit. The controls are fine. The interface, fine. Everything else to that game, it's not fun. It's not horror. It's fucking suspense.
It's definitely horrible.
That yes it is. I mean, that game is as much horror as the Resident Evil movies are horror. Yeah, no, the game is ass. I will give the guy credit for putting together something that has become such a internet hit and has become basically its own meme. That's not a good thing.
It's Slender Man. It turns out it has a history. It turns out there's a big mythos surrounding this.
I read it.
This is just one big cog in that because I decided to do some history. Decided to do some studying.
Another reason why I'm comparing it to the Blair Witch Project.
Yes.
Because both of them are based on bullshit.
Indeed, lots of things based on bullshit. Just like the WHO. Oh god, I'm turning into my pet WHO thing here. So here's the thing about Slender. I was seeing all these videos of it and people's reactions, and I was thinking to myself, man, why are people liking this garbage?
No kidding.
And then I thought to myself, okay, you know what? I need to, just like with fighting games, I need to fucking walk the talk here. So I decided that I was going to try it out. And I predicted that what was going to happen, what I was expecting is, I was predicting that after I played it, I would still not really think it's that good, but I would have some appreciation for it. I would appreciate the atmosphere it tried to set up. I would appreciate the fact that it's generally harmless kind of fun. There was a game, and I think the developers who made VVV made this game. It was called Don't Look Back. It was on Congregate. It was kind of a pixel arty Atari-looking game that lasted all of 20 minutes and it involved going into the underworld, and it was some revelation about life and death. And I remember on the Fantasy Strike forums, someone really thought it was a shitty game, that it came from basically a rash of indie-developed shitty games. And to be honest, even though there are quite a few indie games I like, a lot of indie games are really bad. A lot of indie games are just one mechanic from one game someone liked, focused on without consideration for context or anything, right? Like, Braid's a good example of this. There are good things about it, but the platforming in it is kind of shitty, and the real gimmick behind it is the whole time manipulation, which other games have done better. But Jonathan Blow zeroed in on this one thing, and he's like, this is the thing I'm going to make my awesome indie game about, and then be a fucking jackass and call games immature because he knows what the fuck he's talking about, right? Anywho, I thought I was going to gain a greater appreciation for Slender, but still not care. And then I played it, and I'm like, oh man, this is even trashier than I thought. Because here's the problem, okay? Like this game, thematically, it's nothing.
Agreed.
It is thematically devoid of theme. It is devoid of point and purpose. You get all 8 pages, and you get caught anyway, except in the latest patch where you get an ending where it turns into daylight out, and then you see the credits anyway. What the fucking do? There's no payoff to it. The payoff its designers and its fans will argue is that it gets a cheap scare out of you. And the problem there is other games and films and other media do this way better without forcing me down a pretty shitty control scheme. You said it was fine. I do not agree. I did not have any fun controlling my guy. I didn't like that stamina was limited and that it could actually shrink if you sprinted too much. I didn't like that.
I didn't notice that, actually.
Yeah, I was reading up on some of the mechanics and shit. Like, the right strategy for later is to just tap sprint so that you stay ahead of Slender Man, who, as it turns out, is just chasing you from behind the whole time. So as long as you keep sprinting in short bursts, he'll never catch you. So the whole purpose, the whole mechanic of this game is defeated by a simple execution trick. And the ultimate payoff for it is seeing the same thing that would have happened if you failed the game's win condition. And the whole point of the game seems to be to set up an admittedly kind of atmospheric environment for you to fail in. And this game, this indie kind of demo test, and it should have been just a little demo of something bigger, has become this internet phenomenon, and people calling it this amazing atmospheric storytelling game. And it is, as an aspiring screenwriter, an aspiring game designer, and an actual paid professional marketing writer, I am offended by people who actually think this is purposeful and meaningful and anything other than garbage. There is nothing to it. The argument could be made that it's ultimately harmless because it's free. It's free. It doesn't cost you any money. Unfortunately, I'll never get those minutes back and longer because I was doing some research so I could talk about it. Turns out, first impressions were right on the money there. You don't always gotta experience something to analyze it, although I guess now I'll know better. Maybe this is an issue with just indie games in general. Like, there are quite a few good ones. You and I both like Bastion.
Yep.
VVV is not perfect, but it certainly is
fun.
A hell of a lot of fun. Fairly challenging. Fairly, not too much, not too little. It's kind of a sweet spot there. But a lot of indie games are just kind of trashy. They're just kind of pretentious noise. Like, I think as time goes on, my appreciation for Braid shrinks more and more and more. And my appreciation for Limbo shrinks exponentially more. And even after I finished that game, I kind of had the idea that I kind of felt the same way I did when I finished Slender. I'm like, what? That's it? There's no payoff here. At least that game controls well. I've been talking for a long time now. Say something, damn it.
Oh, I do agree with you to when it comes to Slender, absolutely. Braid, I never actually finished because I got tired of the way that he kept on doing the mechanics. And really, I found it boring. It didn't even offer any mini payoffs that kept me intrigued. So Braid was already not a high up the totem pole game for me. However, Limbo, I still think is an aesthetic success. It jumped out to tell us a story via the aesthetic that it was working with, and that way it really did work. It's for the same reason that you and I have different interpretation of Journey, for example. I loved Flower, Journey, those games, because I enjoyed just that. I enjoyed going through it, looking into what they were telling me through the visual aesthetic. That's Limbo. Slender tells me one thing. Too much time, not enough thought put into the process. Because there is no journey here. It is me running through a badly designed, cubed, fenced-off area with really no... As you went through the areas, did you notice any real pattern to how to get from here to there? I mean, ultimately, you are running around blind. Unless you memorize a map of, okay, I gotta go at 23 degrees from this point to get to the next zone. I mean, it's a crapshoot. It really needed a map that drew in as you ran around. However, that would have required more thought process.
I think I'd argue that a map would kind of ruin part of the purpose of Slender. That the whole point to it was that you were disoriented,
running around
and not aware
blind.
of your surroundings.
Granted, but I mean, if they even added in the mechanic of, if you hit Slenderman from a distance with the flashlight, it would give you a few seconds to run.
I love how you called him Slenderman. Like Bill Slenderman is after you in the forest.
Well, I was never afraid. I mean, even when the music would give you that sudden boom, it gave you every now and then to sort of give you that little jump. I thought it was cheap.
I did jump a little bit, but
Really?
it wasn't out of horror. It was out of surprise that suddenly this happened.
I mean, you know me in movies. I jump a lot as far as the suspense factor goes. It just between the music usually and what's going on screen, it makes me jump. It's just how I handle it. I didn't jump in this one because I'm like, okay, sooner or later here they're gonna do something really cheesy to try and make boom. There we go.
To be fair though, you already knew what to expect. We've seen videos of this.
We've never seen it with the music turned on. Not a single video that I've seen.
We've totally seen it.
Two Best Friends.
Well, Two Best Friends had the music. Gavin and Michael from Achievement Hunter had the music on. We've totally seen it.
Okay, but I guess I was paying more attention to their voices because I've never actually heard, until I played the game, I'd never actually listened to the music or heard the sound effects.
Even if you've never heard it, and I'm pretty sure you fucking heard it, but even if you hadn't, you still knew what was coming. If you played it blind, like often guest Kiki, you would probably be a lot more freaked out by it, because she mentioned when we were shitting on Slender on Facebook that it kind of scared her, that the game was scary to her, but she'd never heard of it, right? She had no idea what this game she was being shown was putting her into.
Did she finish it?
I'm not sure. All I know is that, yeah, it did scare her. And if you don't know what you're expecting, yeah, you're going to get, you may get a bit of a
small thrill.
Yeah, you might get a small thrill, but there's no other payoff. Like, you get a jolting thrill in Limbo when that spider kills you. But there's still the idea of, okay, how do I get past this obstacle?
Yeah.
And then there's at least some mechanical goal. There's some game design going on here. Even if it's sparse and minimalistic to accomplish an aesthetic I thought should have been a lot larger for the amount of money I paid for Limbo. If you're gonna make a game, make it with purpose. Like, I suppose Slender has a purpose. It's just that it plays like a demo for something better, and this demo for something better has captured the hearts and minds of the modern gamer.
It reminds me of a tech demo done as sort of like job interview process.
Do you remember in Super Castlevania 4 that stage where you had to grapple the hook and then the stage rotated around you in Mode 7, and you didn't do anything except hang on there and look at the hardware render this? That's this whole game. Except in Super Castlevania 4, that lasted for approximately 5 minutes. Here, it's the whole game! At least the rest of the tech demo-y stuff in Super Castlevania 4 involved you needing to get around that shit to go fight Drac. And this... Modern gamers piss me off, Dave. Modern gamers don't know what they got. It's either people who slobber all over shit like Slender and call it the next wave of storytelling in games, while they give Jonathan Blow hand jobs. I know Jonathan Blow has nothing to do with Slender, but I'm sure he masturbates furiously to it. Or it's Nintendo fanboys who think that games like Halo, which generally have 8 bazillion times more thought and process put behind them than the modern 2D Mario shitty-ass new Super Mario Brothers garbage Nintendo peddles, shitting all over things that aren't Nintendo. Or it's fucking people who... I'm rambling!
You're emotional on the topic, that's fine. Bottom line is, no, Slender was not an impressive piece of anything to me, even looking at it as a tech demo. It's like, okay, I get it, I guess, moving on. It is, for me, it is defined by just how forgettable it was as a playable experience.
That is a great quote, and absolutely Good. The word escaped me.
Accurate?
It is an accurate quote. It is quite on point. How would you have made Slender better? I'll tell you how I would have made Slender better.
Just not made it?
Well, I think there are several ways you can approach this, like maybe make it more of a facility like Portal. Part of the reason Portal is a way more effective horror game, even though it's not even a horror game, is that you're just given hints that GLaDOS has it in for you. And then they leave one Ratman den open for you to look at, and you're like, what the fuck? And then that's when the music kicks in.
Mm-hmm.
And this non-horror puzzle FPS manages to be a better horror game than Slender. So maybe make it a facility. Like, do you remember in Metroid Fusion when you knew the SAX was around you, but you didn't know when she was going to appear? She could be behind any door about to murder you.
Mm.
That was a better game than Slender, those moments. So I would have made it like that. Like there's a game there, but there's this malevolent force that's forcing you to be urgent and cautious and paying attention and on point at all times. And that would have made a better Slender, in my humble opinion.
There's only been ever one game that has ever outright creeped me out, as far as a suspense-style game, and that was Thief 3.
I have zero experience with that series, so you're going to have to explain.
Well, I mean, Thief was very much a roaming around, stealing things. I mean, that game was the ultimate stealth game. Because in most cases, if you got into a fight without planning it out, you were screwed. You were going to die, and that was how the game worked. However, if you planned things out, you could make the area more to your advantage. So, I mean, you would go around and you would hit douse lights with a water arrow, sort of thing. You would sneak up from the shadows and stab somebody or knock them out. That sort of thing. I mean, it was the pivotal stealth game that's ever been made. I'm pumped for whatever they're going to do with Thief 4, if it ever actually comes out. But, as far as being scary, I mean, that whole game wasn't scary, to say the least, but there was one stage, and it was an abandoned asylum / orphanage.
/ orphanage.
Actually, that has some basis in history.
This is true. We do love to mistreat our children. Well, at least I do.
Yeah, you don't have any children to thank. Anyway, moving on. But, I mean, this was a stage that you started, and you got all your weapons. The first half of the area, there's no opponent. You're going through this asylum, and it's all run down and abandoned, and the sounds coming from everywhere. Like, you're expecting any moment something's going to jump out and attack you. And it was probably the one and only time that I actually got creeped out to the point that I started looking around in my room, because I've always had the stereo, the 5.1 surround sound, and it was downright chilling just how well they did the atmosphere in both sound and video for the time. So yeah, that was actual creepy and fearful. Everything else has always just been a quick, suspense, jump out, holy fuck, okay, attack, sort of thing. This was just downright, I was actually scared.
So do you think Slender Man should have toyed with you a little bit?
I think there need to be more there where you give the game a health bar and, have him pop up in front of you and, I don't know, bitch slap you. Have the screen spin. All of a sudden, maybe dim the screen a little bit at that point where you almost seem disoriented. As you're running, the screen's going to and from, so you feel like you're drunk or otherwise off your rocker.
And then you look back, and he's not there anymore.
And then all of a sudden, he's not there. Not this instant, you saw me, it's over. Let's toy with the player a little bit. Let's give them a reason that, holy fuck, I'm being toyed with. That can be a much more scary experience than just, you're done. Because now all of a sudden, you're not only trying to dodge him because he's going to get you, but he's now toying with you. Cat and mouse syndrome. Is the cat going to kill you this time? Or is it just going to bat you back and forth a couple times and then take a couple steps back?
I think that would have been a better experiment than what Slender ended up being.
I think so too, but of course, looking from the outside, we can say that. Be a little bit hard as far as the actual mechanic at this point, but even now, the developer could go back and add that sort of thing in. Some people would say, well, oh, it would cheapen the experience and everything else. No, it wouldn't. It would make that 1,000 times better, because now you're giving me something to... You're making it more of an experience versus a constant running sim.
Kiki says she saw a daylight mod where it's almost kind of creepier because Slender Man is a lot more visible. And since you can, and anytime you can see him, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
So it kind of does that. I agree with what you're saying, but let's be frank here. This is a free game that obviously was someone's hard work and effort, so I don't want to shit on that too much.
Well, no,
like someone made this for free on Unity, and they put it out there for the world to enjoy, and they keep updating it. So let it not be misunderstood here. I don't want to shit on the developer for doing something he loved and throwing it out there. I'm more just upset at gamers in general championing this like it's worth championing. It's a nice tech demo and nothing more. I interrupted your thought. Please continue.
No, and actually that's quite well put, because I can respect somebody who actually develops something and puts it out there. Yes, I can say it's shit, but that's more because of what it does than anything else. The effort is always, this might get the person looked at by an actual game company.
Mm-hmm.
As, okay, well, you had an idea, now what can you do with this idea beyond this? Because looking at it from a publishing standpoint, it'd be like, okay, that's quaint. Now, what else can you do? Because this is not enough.
And to
you
be
made
fair,
this. Congratulations! It's cool you developed this. For the graphics you can see, it's not bad. The trees are actually rendered quite well. The place I think you almost have to start in that game, the bathhouse area, with that piece of paper, you kind of have it. It all looks great. In that way, good on you. Things I would do small little touches I would do to improve the actual experience. Add in a moon, and lighting from it, and randomly, each game to game, have it in a different spot. Shadows can have an amazing effect on how creepy an area is.
That'd definitely be a nice option for it.
I would add in that. I'd even add in some minor animals. A person could argue that it's creepy because there's nothing around except for you and Slenderman.
And tweeting birds.
And Tweety birds.
Chirping birds,
sure,
I guess.
But that's part of a soundtrack versus you never see a bird.
Mm-hmm.
I would add in other things around to make it, is that Slenderman but
maybe the animals kind of disperse when he gets close. And
sure,
maybe
but
this
also
is some unnatural force, and the animals are running. Maybe you should follow suit.
But then again, he'd have to change the mechanic where Slenderman's always following behind you.
Well, Bill Slenderman is always following behind you,
and that's a problem in my opinion.
You think you should kind of change position, sometimes jump in front of you.
Well, I don't want him to suddenly start teleporting. What I want him to do is, okay, I'm running towards the tree, and let's say the bathroom shower thing is over on the right 60 degrees. Instead of falling right behind you, he circles around going west and then comes back at you from the north. Let's make this that you're being stalked, not just from behind, because from behind is manageable. You start making the AI actually wanting to mess with you again, scary, toy with you. If he all of a sudden came from in front of you, but he actually legitimately walked around and came to that position, that would really mess you up, because all of a sudden you're not able to manage him being behind you. You're now, holy shit, he's right in front of me, run back.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, there's more the developer can do to make it downright frightening.
Indeed. And any of these things would make a game more worthy of being praised by the groveling video game masses.
Which we are included in.
I know. Speaking of the groveling masses and the things they like, the Wii U is a system by Nintendo. And it is going to be released this Christmas. And now we have full details and release information and pricing and all that.
Nintendo.
I realize that's our popular shtick, to make fun of Nintendo, because they also deserve it for ruining
many things,
ruining my adulthood by not being as good as they were in my childhood. Anger. But why don't we start on a positive note? What about the Wii U launch did you like?
Okay, are we going like what happened at E3 sort of thing?
No,
or...
like the recent details about its launch, the launch titles, when it's going to be released, pricing, what the what's included, like what about this system? If you had lots of disposable income and were just going to buy it based off that, what about it would you champion as its positives?
Okay, well, see, you're asking me here, and I'm very critical of it.
So am I.
Well, yeah, but I'm going to take this one to the extreme. There's not much good about Nintendo's new system. I'm going to just come right out and say it.
Okay. And we definitely will talk about what's not so good about it.
What I do like about it, that they are building in direct support for external hard drives.
This is a good thing.
I do this myself now on my Wii because my Wii's CD-ROM drive has failed. So all my games are actually backed up on a hard drive, and I run it using custom firmware.
Indeed. And
I do that out of
CD
necessity, not piracy.
I think the CD drive in the Wii I used to have that I gave to Kiki is also dying down, and we're going to have to look into that. I kind of want to just get the Dolphin emulator and buy a sensor bar.
I've really thought
new Super Mario Brothers Wii levels that are better than Nintendo's.
Let's touch on old system emulation after the Wii U.
Sure.
So that's one thing I like. I like how Nintendo's trying to do better at their wireless or their internet online solutions. I'm gonna give them a C- on that because once again, it's not full adoption. It's going to be when we want, and it's still gonna be based on friend code bullshit.
I
do not appreciate that in today's era of Xbox Live and PSN Plus,
and Steam,
and
AOL, and Origin.
I'm not giving you the last one.
It doesn't matter. The whole point is they have easy to access usernames.
No, I will say that AOL's online solution is probably still better than Nintendo's.
Yeah, you put in a
and it kills me to admit that, people.
Yeah, you put in a nickname instead of going, oh, I want to be friends with David on my Wii.
Here's a 26-digit code to put in.
7, 2, 3.
He's gonna keep on going.
2, 3.
Okay, we get the point. But
7.
I like how they're trying, but again, I don't think it's gonna be that great.
What I like about the system, in addition to the things you mentioned,
I do like how the controllers from the Wii do work on the Wii U, including supposedly, though I haven't found actual confirmation of this, the classic controller is supposed to still work. But then again, that makes sense seeing as the Wii U or the Wii controllers work on it, so there should be no reason why it wouldn't work.
I would hope so. The Classic Controller Plus is one of the best gamepads I've ever had the pleasure of using. And I really wish there was an easy USB adapter for it so I could use it as my gamepad everywhere, because it is so good.
I don't agree with you.
I'm an arcade stick player, but if I had to pick a pad that I was going to play fighters with, I would use the Classic Controller Plus in a heartbeat. It's like a PlayStation DualShock done right. And I love the DualShock 2, so that's saying something.
My problem with it, and I've only used it with one game so far, so take this with a grain of salt. But I found trying to use the Plus controller here for Mario Kart that I kept on doing multiple button presses up here, which always screwed me up. I actually unplugged and went back to the normal Classic, because just with Mario Kart, this screwed me up.
Well, I think you're blaming the controller for your own missteps here.
Could be, but because I haven't used it enough with other stuff, I don't know. So I'm just going to say for Mario Kart, the Plus controller did not work for me.
Gotcha. On the Wii U kick and the things I like about it, in addition to what you mentioned, I actually kind of like the gamepad idea. The iPad that has a Classic Controller Plus portion on its left and right. I kind of dig this. I dig this way more than I dig the shitty Wii Remote, because unlike the shitty Wii Remote, I have tactile feedback buttons to use. And the touchscreen kind of gives me the best of what a DS can do on my big screen. I'm actually, for the first time in a while, excited for a proprietary Nintendo way of controlling games on their system. This is a gimmick I could probably get behind. That alone has me... I'm still well on the fuck Nintendo side of the fence, but I'm kind of peeking over now because of this.
I will admit the tablet controller thing does kind of have me interested. I'm pretty sure Nintendo's going to blow it though, because they'll require me to use it in some really lame way for a game that I love.
And
if they use it for anything other than the occasional puzzle / inventory screen, the next Zelda, I will be very mad.
I think what they're probably going to do is when you enter a house, it'll probably go into like a Link to the Past style 2D overhead view on your
That'd
tablet.
be cool.
That would be cool. In fact, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
I think I'd like to play that. But a gimmick is a gimmick no matter how well it's integrated. That's why it's called a gimmick. When it's integrated well, it's not a gimmick anymore. The Wii Remote is not a gimmick in Mario Galaxy. The Wii Remote is not a gimmick in that WarioWare game for the Wii. And if if Kid Icarus Uprising was released on the Wii like it should have been, the Wii Remote would not have been a gimmick there either. Those would have been incorporated parts of the game, and it's not a shitty gimmick anymore. It's now an integral part of the way you play.
I'm gonna come out and say that even the Wiimote usage in Skyward Sword, I didn't consider that a gimmick.
I think it should have been an option, but we've had this discussion left, right, and center, including in our snippets and doodads episode.
I know.
Which was a couple episodes back. So,
still saying.
I'm okay with it as an option. I'm okay with it as, do you want to use the Wii Remote or not? In a game where it's not obviously built for one method or another. And in that case, let people pick their option. I have no right to shit on anyone who likes to use a Wii Remote in a game I might not like to use a Wii Remote in. No right. So I have no issue with the option. And if a game is built entirely around it and needs it, as long as it's built well and intuitive and fun and awesomely made like the Mario Galaxies or the no longer existent Wii Kid Icarus Uprising, which I really wish existed because I would play on my Wii again just for that.
I have bought games on other systems just because it was going to force me to use the Wii Remote. Mm-hmm. For example, every now and then I get the hankering for a...
Hankering.
I
don't know what the fuck a hankering is, but it kind of sounds like a racial slur. Like, we should bury those damn Skypes in a ditch. I always thought Skype sounded like a racial slur. When I first heard the term Skype from my mom, it's like, do you use Skype, Carlos? I'm like, pardon me?
Yeah, I can see that.
So whenever you get a hankering for
like a Harvest Moon style game, Rune Factory was the latest one. I could have gotten on the Wii and paid $10 less, but they forced me to use full Wiimote controls. Rune Factory Harvest Moon is not a game I want to play where I'm having to mind by keeping on swinging my frickin' Wiimote up and down like a frickin' masturbatory tool.
Like a what tool? Like a tool.
Yeah. But yeah, no. Again, controller there should be fine. I'm a little bit worried by some of the early reports of using two of them slows things down in a couple of the tests.
You mean the touch gamepad?
Gamepad, okay. Yeah. But we will see what Nintendo pulls out of its effective rear end.
Indeed. I forgot what I was gonna say completely.
Good points on the Wii U.
Yeah, good points. Yeah, I mentioned all of mine. As for what sucks, the launch lineup does not have me excited.
There's not a single game in the 40 games that are coming out in the first 4 months that I even want to take a look at.
But let's be fair here. This is also partly to do with taste. I was not a fan of...
Good taste or bad taste?
I was not a fan of Bayonetta, but I didn't hate it. I just played through it, and I'm like, this is a very interesting Devil May Cry-esque type of game, and I just don't care for this kind of game. I didn't hate it. I didn't go, this is a piece of shit fucking Slender garbage bullshit. But I know usual friend Richie is a big fan of Bayonetta, and at first he was kind of upset that Bayonetta 2 is Wii U exclusive. But then he calmed down and he thought about it, as Richie often does, and he realized Nintendo offered to publish this and probably saved it from never existing, right?
Yeah.
So, regardless, Bayonetta 2 is a pretty big Wii U exclusive. That is a big one for Nintendo to have. And that's a smart play by Nintendo to get a big name like that. I mean, a big name exclusive can make or break you, Halo. So, like,
Yeah,
this is
Halo's a good
thing.
example on that. I do think that the games don't interest me. There's a lot of last-gen, really popular games that, frankly, people already mostly have. That
To be fair, as I mentioned earlier about playing NES games, I'll play to death a well-made game no matter what era it's made in.
Oh,
so
granted.
if there's some new version of, say, Gears of War for Wii U, I know there never will be, but let's say there was, I'd probably be on board, even if it was the same game as Gears of War 3, because Gears of War 3 is a mechanically solid and aesthetically pleasing and fun title. I would play it again,
Granted.
regardless of it being a rehash.
Granted.
And I kind of like the idea of what Mass Effect 3 on Wii U is doing, where it lets you play kind of a visual novel of the first two games, at least that's what I've heard, so that you can build your Shepard, and you kind of get to do a light choose-your-own-adventure of what you went through in the first two games, so that you're not just jumping into the boat fresh, right?
Which is a smart idea.
Mm-hmm.
But my point here is a large number of the first 40 titles in those first 4 months are titles that a good majority of your fan base have on 360, PC, or PS3.
But again, to be fair here, one big criticism levied against Nintendo, oh god, I'm defending Nintendo. One big criticism levied against them is that they didn't have that third-party backing. So now that
I'm still not seeing it.
But here's the thing, even though they're getting a lot of rehashed titles that people might not need to buy because they already have it and there's nothing wrong with their current versions, the fact remains that if Nintendo is really trying to get its third-party support back in, this is not a bad way to show it. Yeah, look, a lot of these games you found popular in these other two systems, well, Nintendo's a player now. Nintendo's one of the multi-console players again, and we want to offer that to our customers. And I kind of get this strategy. I'm not saying they're games I'll buy. Just like you, there's nothing in the launch lineup I want either. I will not buy a Wii U right away unless between now and its release I get lots and lots of disposable income I don't need for anything else.
I'm going to say right now that I really think that Nintendo should have done a relaunch of Skyward Sword for the Wii U. And here's my reasoning. Number one, because of the more powerful system, just like the reason why I want to actually do the dolphin thing just like you, is the games look bloody spectacular through the dolphin. Just like my
Through the dolphin.
I said I was going to do this at the end, and I will, but it's just, I know we have the conversations about graphics versus story and everything else, and as long as the story is there, graphics don't really matter.
No, my argument is aesthetics versus gameplay.
When I can have
not graphics versus story. That leaves out the most important part of a game.
When I can have both of them, I want them.
I'm okay with that.
And now that I've come to a little bit of epiphany on a bunch of that stuff, because now I realize that a lot of that stuff is only held back by the engine, by the power of the system. These games can do much better if they were on more powerful systems.
The thing is,
by releasing Skyward Sword or a couple of those, I'm surprised ultimately there's no bloody Zelda or Metroid as a launch title for it. There's no good Mario, Mario Galaxy 3.
There's still a Mario, and that's the thing. It doesn't matter that the new Super Mario Brothers games have been mediocre. Although I'm secretly hoping this one will not be mediocre. That will be good. But the thing is, though, releasing Skyward Sword again doesn't make a lot of sense. The Wii U will be able to play your Wii version of it, and the Wii version of it is still relatively newish. Why would they re-release it? I don't see a point to this. I'd rather they just make a new Zelda, because I think I'd kind of want to play that example Zelda example we gave earlier, right? Be the first Zelda game in a long time I would actually want to play. But what were we talking about again?
Bad points of it.
Yeah.
I was also really surprised to find out, and I'm pretty sure Nintendo's going to change their mind as far as North America goes for this at least. But the whole mentality of, you've already got a sensor bar because you have a Wii, therefore we're not giving you a sensor bar with your Wii U.
Yeah, I kind of hope that mentality changes.
That just screams ego, because what if I'm one of those people who just decided not to get a Wii? Now you're saying I gotta buy your system, and I've now gotta find a sensor bar, which isn't that easy, Nintendo?
It really should be included. I thought I had read reports that the Wii U pad could act as a sensor bar for Wii remotes, but maybe this all existed in my brain somewhere.
Would have to, because that would mean if you were playing on the Wii U, or rather, we were playing on the Wii U and you were using a remote, what am I going to do, stand in front of the TV and aim it at you? There's a reason why it's like that on top of your TV, so it's got by me holding the control, where are they going to put the sensor bar?
No, you wouldn't hold the controller. You would just kind of rest it on top of your thin TV where it couldn't possibly rest.
So, in games that I need to use, multiplayer game where I've got to use the...
No, dude, no Wii game is going to use the gamepad. The Wii U gamepad.
Okay, but I'm now talking Wii U games where player 1's using tablet controller and other people are using the Wiimotes. Where's your logic there, my friend?
I hope the logic is that...
They give you a fucking sensor bar!
I kind of hope the logic is they just phase out the Wii remote.
They're not going to. They've already said.
We can just pretend it was all a nightmare. Just like what Trunks said when he went back to his future. Someday you gotta wake up. And then he killed Cell. And then the nightmare was over. Nerd, shut the fuck up. You and I are both looking forward to Screw Attack's Death Battle, Goku vs. Superman battle that we are 100% uber hype for.
Sure. However, back to the Wii U for the time being. Yeah, so no games interested at launch. I'm still kind of worried that as far as new games coming out, even on the Xbox and the PS3, and soon their new versions of the systems, that they won't be able to hold up with the aesthetics that those games can handle.
I don't think aesthetics are terribly important. I think a lot of gamers are realizing that right now. Let me rephrase. I don't think they're as important as and this is not a shot on you, as the graphics whores seem to think it is. I'm not calling you one, but there are some people who are like, this thing doesn't process 13 trillion voxel pixels in a multi-ASCII color map.
You pulled all of those terms out of your ass. What I'm saying here, though, is if I've got 3 different versions of the game coming out on each of the systems, and I put screenshots side by side, and one is visibly worse than the others, there's a problem there.
I think it would have to be way visibly worse for me.
And
it would have to be gameplay altering, like playing Donkey Kong Country on your Game Boy Color.
I mean, in our cases, we have tended to own most, if not all, of the current systems. That's not going to help.
Yeah, but what about the guy who only buys a Wii U? Now he has a choice because he has versions of the game.
He has.
So we can't look at it. We can't be the 1% and go, everyone's gonna have all 3 consoles.
No, but my point is like in our case, we've got the Wii, we've got the PS3, and we've got the Xbox. So if in this generation they had been doing that, and I had the choice at launch of Xbox, PS3, or Wii for, say, Batman Arkham City, there wouldn't have been a chance in hell I would have got it on the Wii.
Yeah, but how many times have you bought the Xbox version of a game that's both on Xbox and PS3 because you wanted to use your Xbox controller on it, or because you wanted to have the Xbox Live functionality for it?
Yes.
Yeah, so here's the thing, like, the PS3 is technically a superior system, and when developers use it right, the games on it are way better looking than on the 360. Maybe not way better looking, but definitely better looking. But yet, you will buy a 360 version for other considerations.
Well, SSX3. I bought the PS3 version simply based on controls.
Well, there you go. And that's the thing. There's more than just the visuals here. I think as long as the visuals are within arm's reach of each other, pick the system pick this version that has what you want out of it most, whether it's controls or that system's exclusives. I really don't think that
Nintendo's going to live or die on the Wii U based on their exclusives, I think.
Well, it worked in Xbox in North America. Didn't work for Xbox in Japan, even though there are some diehard Xboxers who still live there.
Yeah,
they love their Gears of War for some reason. It's not a game you would think would be a big hit in Japan, but they love their Gears of War.
I don't take Japan into consideration when it comes to this.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested in what their market thinks of stuff, just because they're a different fucking planet, and getting their thoughts and feelings on shit is interesting.
Aggravating.
And because it's so outside of the box compared to us, it can sometimes reveal things we hadn't thought of.
Sure.
Similarly, and there are probably two Japanese fat men doing a similar podcast right now. They probably go, those North American guys, those gaijin, they totally have some observations about our things we don't think of. So, I mean, because we're so worlds apart, there's something to be gained from hearing their thoughts and feelings on our shit, I think.
Price is a little bit high, I think, for the Wii U.
It is a little bit high, but it's...
Then again, I'll say it's better priced than the PS Vita, seeing as they're priced exactly the same.
Oh, the Vita. There was a game we didn't mention we've both been playing, and we should plug it because it's awesome. And it combines a above average but not spectacular fighting game beat 'em up engine with all the goodness of 80s cartoons. Double Dragon Neon.
Yes.
Double Dragon Neon is crack cocaine. It's not the best side-scrolling beat-em-up, but it is still functional. It borrows a little bit of the Arkham Asylum / City Batman counter button mechanic.
Yep.
And if it was just that, it would have been a serviceable beat-em-up. But thanks to the cornball 80s voice acting, hurry up, dingus! Oh, it's good to be on the mean streets of Earth again. Yeah, terra-affirmative! Billy and Jimmy...
The puns.
Billy and Jimmy sound like two variants of Wheeler from Captain Planet. And this is a good thing. This game reeks 80s cartoon fused with a kind of a progression of Double Dragon. And unlike that Scott Pilgrim beat-em-up, which was trying to get the nostalgia factor on but ended up being boring, this game is nostalgic and loads of fun because of its aesthetic and its serviceable fighting engine. And everyone and their mother needs to play this damn game. Only local co-op for now, but it's going to have online co-op in a future patch, I guess.
I like it. It's awesome. Soundtrack is awesome as well.
It's also free.
It's also free on PSN Plus right now.
Actually, my brother Poe, who is often on the podcast as well, he tells me that you can get it free online off the developer's site.
Oh, the soundtrack?
Yeah.
I was talking to the game.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the game is super fairly priced. If you're on PSN Plus, it's free. If you're on PSN, it's $10, and on Xbox Live, 800 points. I want to point out that Limbo was more than 800 points. So, fuck Limbo, play Double Dragon Neon.
Fair enough.
And Double Dragon Neon is just...
It's just fun.
It's a shotgun blast of nostalgia done right.
Yep.
It's a serviceable fighting engine wrapped around fun, best enjoyed co-op, and loads of laughs and booyah, this just fucking happened moments. That Chinese tower just turned into a rocket, and now we're in space.
Yeah.
Honestly, I wish the Battletoads were in this game. I really do, and they would not have looked out of place at all.
No, it wouldn't have. So yeah, no, good game. Definitely suggest it.
I also suggest it.
Emulation and playing old system games on your computer.
Yes. Totally legal because I own every game I play.
As far as... Well, I mean, the big one for me here recently is using the PSX2 emulator to play old PlayStation 2 games in awesomeness. To put into perspective, if you look at screenshots right now of Persona 4 that's coming out for the Vita, mine still looks better. And if you don't believe me, just put a message on this podcast looking for screenshot comparisons, because my guys look crisp and fucking bloody awesome when it comes to in-game stuff. The videos still look like the old stuff, so that's the one place the Vita will be able to beat me. But if you are a Persona 4 fan and you've got a decently powerful system, probably a recent i7 processor, you'll want to grab this emulator and give it a try with a legitimate copy. Dolphin. Dolphin's not one that I have... Okay, I've installed it, and I have run it. Quite frankly, people, with your Wii games can do so much better than the Wii can do on your computer. Again, this is coming from... And I'll take the label. I am a graphics whore. If I know my game can can look so much better. I complain that it can't. It's one of my big reasons for wanting a Wii U version of Skyward Sword, for example, because I know it can do so much better, and I know the Wii hardware holds it back. It's another reason why I really hold it against Nintendo for not allowing upconverting of their Wii games. I would pay, an extra $50 for the system to do this. Nintendo, listen, please. But again, I like my graphics to go with my gameplay. A reason why I love the Persona 4 through my emulator. Dark Cloud through my emulator. I mean, Dark Cloud was a launch title. Almost.
Yes, on PlayStation 2.
My in-game graphics, the stuff that the actual system has to process, looks like late PS3 style graphics in some cases. That's how nice these graphics can look. The video, it can't do anything with because it's a video. But these graphics can be better, and I've seen videos of, look for Skyward Sword, Dolphin videos on YouTube or 1080p, and you will see how great these games can look in addition to things.
Dolphin also has the benefit of letting you play custom New Super Mario Bros. Wii levels, most of which are better than Nintendo's shitty stock levels. Keep in mind, the Dolphin, you do need to buy a third-party sensor bar and a Wii remote in order to use. But yeah,
true.
For emulators, I will admit that the 8 and 16-bit games I like to play so often, whether it's through emulation or through Wii U's Virtual Console, the fact that they can be properly displayed without composite video or RF, or let's get even worse, UHF screw-in terminals, being able to see them like that on my computer definitely has... There is something to getting the best possible visual quality. I just happen to think that a crisp-looking, well-made NES game is as visually stunning to me as a crisp-looking Gears of War 3. That's just kind of where I come from here.
And I can give you that, because different eras, I still go back and I can have fun playing Mario 3, but I'd much rather play the Mario 3 that was redone for the Super NES. I mean, stuff like that. I mean, the graphical upgrades are nice. I've always felt that, but those are also strong game mechanic games that the extra graphics are just icing on the cake.
This is true. Graphics, I still say gameplay is most important. Graphics just need to be functional, but if they can be even more than functional, sure.
Exactly, which, I mean, I talked myself out of getting Persona for the Vita because I didn't want to output the insane amount of money for one game. Funny little ender for this. Sony is saying now that they were so shocked at how few third-party vendors wanted to make games for the PS Vita.
I don't see why they're so surprised.
Well, I mean, that's like saying Nintendo is so surprised they got so little third-party support for the N64, the Wii, the GameCube, and the Wii.
You know what systems they've always had pretty good third-party support for? They're
DS.
portables, but the 3DS kind of faltering there. But perhaps we'll see where that goes. All right, if you want to drop us a line about anything you've heard here or want to shit all over us, tfgtg.blogspot.com or on Twitter at tfgtg. Until then, this has been David and Kailash. This has been Two Fat Guys Talk Games, episode 21. Next time on Two Fat Guys Talk Games.
Who the fuck knows?
It's a real slobber knocker. Well, I was trying to do an anime-esque next time thing. That's why I did the thing where they have the preview in and they kind of fourth wall break and talk about the
Let's leave that in.